Welcome to Miles Ahead, the Canadian Points podcast brought to you by FrugalFlyer.ca, where we talk about all things miles and points, a hobby that allows us to travel all over the world in style and on a budget. As a reminder, I'm Danny.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Josh.
Today, we're going to be recapping Miles and Points 2025. This is going to be publishing on Boxing Day, so happy Boxing Day as a true Canadian tradition for our Canadian Points podcast. We are going to be talking about what we loved in the 2025 year of Miles and Points, who bonvoyed us or who devalued our points the most. And then also we made some predictions at the end of last year for what 2025 would look like. And we're going to take a quick peek back on those to see how our predictions fared from last year. Before we delve too far into the episode, I want to remind listeners that you can always find our timestamps in the show notes if you'd like to skip to a specific section or revisit a particular part. Additionally, if you're enjoying what you hear, please take a moment to leave us a review and rating on your favorite podcast platform. We read all of the feedback, and the reviews in particular help us tremendously. Now, before we get into the exciting stuff of rewinding the time machine and seeing what we thought was going to happen in 2025, we do have some Miles and Points news to cover as we close out the end of the year. Now, I'm going to call on Jeff, our resident Vancouverite, to talk about a new Aeroplan partner that has been added into the fleet.
Yeah, so new Aeroplan Partners. So this makes number 51. We're going to talk about number 52 in a minute here. Harbour Air. For those that don't know, Harbour Air offers or provides seaplane service from Vancouver Harbour and Vancouver International Airport to coastal British Columbia cities, Vancouver Island, Whistler, stuff like that. So you can now earn Aeroplan points when you fly with Harbour Air, and redemptions are coming at some point in 2026. Don't know exactly when, but we can expect them at some point in 2026. They didn't announce whether they would be a fixed price partner or a dynamic price partner, so we'll have to wait and see there, but just more options. Nothing wrong with that. Always good.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited for this. I've got tons of family on Vancouver Island. We've got Vancouver Island in my family is a bit of a soft spot too. I actually got married out in Tofino. So being able to, actually the Tofino Vancouver route being brand new is awesome. First of all, the fact that that exists, you don't have to go to Victoria and then drive 4 hours out to the west coast of Vancouver Island. You can just fly there quickly. That's a huge benefit. So my inkling is that we might get crazy dynamic pricing on these flights, but it would be great to be able to just tack it on as part of a redemption, or maybe there's something we can do with like a United flight from Seattle to Vancouver or Denver, Vancouver. Jeff, do you have some thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think just because all of Air Canada's other Canadian regional partners, and I'm talking about Calm Air and Bearskin Airlines, they're all dynamically priced.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of expecting Harbour Air to go that route too, but that's just a guess at this point.
Yeah, I haven't actually seen any of those dynamic pricings. Have we, looked into the average value of those flights? Has anybody dug into that at all?
No, I haven't.
No, I know that for a while when they were on fixed pricing, like the flights up to Churchill and stuff from Winnipeg were excellent value.
Yeah.
I've heard rumblings that it obviously has changed now with dynamic pricing, but it's still pretty good. So I think Harbour Air will be the most usable remote partner, if that makes sense, from the majority of Canadians. So good news all the way around. But going in the other direction, or I guess I should say some non-points and miles related news, but some aviation news in Canada, we've got Flair launching the Flair resale market. Now, I'm not going to lie, I know nothing about this. Josh, do you know anything at all about what's going on with Flair and their reselling platform?
I do. Flair, I mean, let's cut it how it is. Ultra low cost carriers, you either love them or hate them. I know Jeff has had a good string of flights with them. Andy, not as much on our team. They're always, it's a unique market segment. And so Flair has launched this Flair resale platform. It's exactly what it sounds like, how you can resell like hockey game tickets or concert tickets. You can do that with your Flair Airlines ticket if you're not going to fly it. Kind of weird to say out loud. Like it's super, it is an innovation It is something new. I don't really understand the market for this. I think it's just a weird combination of, I don't know. I mean, at least you can get something back for your ticket, but it's just such an abnormal thing versus, I don't know. I'm confused, frankly, with this launch of this. Any thoughts?
Yeah, to me it almost like invites too much gaming. Like I could see the abuse of this going pretty rampant, like somebody buying up all of the tickets for, I don't know, December 25th or something like that, right? Like Christmas travel chaos, and our low-cost carrier in Canada now all of a sudden becomes like super dynamically priced because all the low-priced fare buckets are gone. I'll be curious to see how it develops, but we often complain on this show that there is no innovation in Canadian aviation.
Yeah. This is innovation.
Worldwide aviation innovation.
First of its kind. So it is important to note that if you do sell, you don't get money, essentially, as you would if you were selling, like concert tickets. You do get a Flair voucher, so you're still kind of locked into flying by Flair, but you do get that voucher via email, and it is valid for 12 months. So there is a good period of time to actually use that. It's not 2 months, 3 months. So I could see, there being some value again. Stuff happens where, people can't travel anymore. So it's something. It is important to note that any extras that you purchased, perhaps you prepaid for checked baggage and whatnot, that isn't included in the resale. But there may be a partial refund in the voucher when that happens. It depends on the terms of what you've booked. So, we can't outwardly say that this is how it will function, but just something to be aware of. So could be a unique angle, definitely innovative. No one's questioning that. I would have never put this on my bingo card for any Canadian airline, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, spoiler alert, we did not predict that Flair was going to launch reselling tickets.
If we were chatting last year and somebody said that, I'd be like, it's a good guess for sure. And that's about where we move on to the next topic.
Yeah, exactly. So interesting developments from Canada's lowest cost carrier. Speaking of Canada's low cost carriers, WestJet. Sarcasm very much afoot. WestJet got so much pushback on their non-reclining seats with less legroom that they've actually decided to delay the installation of these seats, which I think is good news. We were talking about this before we started recording, and I think that eventually these seats are going to get installed. But I can almost kind of see this as like a Delta Airlines situation. If you remember 2 years ago, 3 years ago, they raised the elite status requirements way high, and they got so much pushback that they basically backed those off and made it easier to qualify for status. Different situation, but I could hopefully see that they just won't roll this out at all, considering that we've got so few airlines in Canada, and the track record of airlines in Canada not being good. I could see them deciding to maybe not roll this out at all going forward, but we'll see. We'll keep you posted here in the news section. And then, Jeff, you alluded to the fact that we have a second new addition to the Aeroplan list of partners. Who else is joining the party?
Yeah, so this was actually just announced recently, very recently. Air Baltic is now being added as an Aeroplan redemption partner. Air Baltic is based in Riga, so you're looking at the Baltics, as the name implies. So their area of coverage is Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. I've actually flown on Air Baltic, actually, and it's very similar to what you find. They're essentially a low-cost carrier in Europe, so it's that sort of experience. They have really nice brand new A220s, so that's a really nice advantage. And honestly, these types of kind of regional partners really work best when you combine them with like a long-haul segment. So for example, when you fly into Frankfurt on Lufthansa, now you can pair up an Air Baltic short-haul flight to get to Vilnius, for example. So super useful. Air Canada just keeps pumping out the partners, and it's awesome to see.
Yeah, super good. I was actually recently planning I wouldn't say a complex trip for some family members, but we wanted to fly them from North America to Europe and do a bit of a stopover. And I had issues with Austrian Airlines connecting on to the same ticket as a Lufthansa flight from Chicago to Frankfurt, and then I wanted them to go from Frankfurt to Vienna, stopover, and then on to their final destination, and it wouldn't go. So, well, it is good to see some Aeroplan partners being added. A word of caution that some of the integration with these partners isn't 100% bulletproof, and there's some agents that don't necessarily know how to explain that. So if you do run into a little bit of resistance when you're adding some of these more complex itineraries like Jeff was talking about, just a word of caution that you might end up with some frustration. Okay, and then on to our last piece of news, Chase the Edit. If you're unfamiliar, the Sapphire Reserve cards south of the border were completely revamped this year. That was one of the big changes down in the US. They've done a no-notice devaluation to their The Edit program. Used to be 2 cents per point redeemable in the travel portal across the board. Now down to about 1.5 cents per point. So if you were sitting on some Chase points planning to use the Edit credits, no notice deval from Chase. Big bummer on that front. I think any devaluations with no notice isn't that good. Give kudos to British Airways, actually. The fact that they gave us a little bit of notice for their devaluation that recently happened. So,
and that was
good.
Pretty minimal compared to what is a 25% drop off here with the Edit.
Yeah.
Right? That's pretty hefty.
Yeah, no, it's huge. I mean, you're basically potentially looking at using tens of thousands of more points for the same thing now. I mean, you've got about a 10% increase with British Airways across the board. So if that's what it takes to keep the wonderful lagoons of award availability that British Airways has, you have to pay some taxes and fees, but it is what it is. Yep. All right, I think that just about covers it for our points and miles news. We're now going to move into our 2025 year in review. So we recorded an episode in January of 2025, and we had some different guests on at the time. Actually, I am the only recurring guest from that section. But I'll hand it off to Jeff. And Jeff, I'll get you to read what Reed Sutton predicted in 2025, what he thought was going to happen, and then we'll all share our thoughts on it.
Yeah, so Reed's prediction was that issuers in Canada will continue to crack down on cardholders who are using cards for quote-unquote less than intended purposes when it comes to earning miles and points. And so just expanding on that, Air Canada, he kind of thought that not Air Canada, American Express was specifically cracking down, and which is something that we've seen over the past year that it's become a lot more difficult to get approved for Amex cards in Canada. And so pretty solid prediction overall. There was also some things going on in the US. Amex USA crackdown on Flu's users, so you can't use Amex cards on that platform anymore. So I wouldn't say we saw Amex really going after cardholders for less than intended purposes, but overall Amex has really tightened up their lending. So he was kind of on the mark, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we'll get into it more as we do the year in review. Like there's feels to be more rails being put up, I guess is a good way to put it, right? Where there's certain things that certain financial institutions are implementing that make it, a little bit harder. It's not impossible, but things are a bit more challenging. So I agree. I think that's pretty on the money and not surprising with the way we've seen things go.
Yeah, attending a few of our meetups over the summer that we did in Edmonton and in Vancouver, I heard from multiple people with 50695 charges on their Amex statements that they were subsequently shut down. And even buying gift cards at grocery stores is now considered a shut-downable offense, whereas that was kind of a gray area before. So I've actually instructed all of my family members to stop buying gift cards with your Cobalt card at grocery stores, because a lot of them don't care to get into the U.S. market. And if they lose the ability to earn Amex membership rewards, that hurts a lot. Like, I basically can't help them for a lot of their award travel with just using RBC. So I think that read was kind of on the money.
Yeah.
But Josh, I'll have you share Kieran's thoughts. What was his prediction that he shared in January of 2025?
For sure. So shout out Kieran. He thought there'd be a potential for lower demand and lower dynamic prices for flights. Not really sure if we saw this in 2025. I think everybody on this episode, we kind of agree we haven't seen a huge shift outside of, the announced devaluations that were clear that that's what they were, which made things more expensive, if anything. But things remained pretty consistent, and I would say throughout the year, based on my limited award searching, availability pretty consistent too. I haven't had a huge struggle trying to book a lot of the stuff I've wanted to. So, things still seem pretty okay on that front.
Yeah, no, Aeroplan seems to be happy with domestic flights being redeemed for like 1.6 to 1.7 cents per Canadian point. And then their international business stuff is just, you might get 3 or 4 cents per point, but you're redeeming 180,000 miles one way for a $5,000 flight. So that's the value of the peg in the mat. But just to be said that there are some lower fare buckets that are out there. They just go very quick when they come. So using award search alerts is going to be your friend going forward for sure. I'll share Andy's thoughts. So Andy Leung, our resident budget flyer, one of the only economy reviews on the website done by Andy. He thought that budget airlines will come back in a bigger way. And sadly for Andy, the stats that I used to look up were Spirit Airlines, the USA's most famous low-cost carrier, actually reduced the number of routes that they were flying. Flair reduced the number of routes that they were flying as well. However, I did actually fly my beloved wife on Spirit Airlines this year. In 2025, I think is the easiest way to put that, for the very first time. So I used a budget airline for the first time, and it was actually a pretty good deal. $160 for a big front seat, so kind of like domestic first class from New York City to Chicago. And I used that with a $50 airline incidental credit from the Hilton Aspire card. So $110 effective cost to fly in a big front seat. So
nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
Yep. No, nothing wrong with that at all. My prediction that we did in January of 2025 is that I said this even when I predicted it. I remember saying this is a bold take, that there would be a new financial technology company or a fintech that would start allowing miles and points to be earned through mortgage payments in Canada. That did not happen, not even close. There was no rumblings of this. However, Built south of the border is closer than ever now to allowing mortgage payments, which launched their new cards in Q1 2025. So that is pretty exciting that at least in the States, there's going to be a case study to be had that we might be able to get something similar up in Canada.
We normally lag
I think it'll
behind.
happen if...
I
was just going to say, Canada always lags. So I think if Built can show that it's viable, then I think it will eventually happen in Canada.
Yeah. We do, on the plus side, we still have Chexi for the time being, which is great for rent and other recurring. So not mortgages yet, but if you're not playing around with Chexi, you're probably missing out right now.
Yeah, no, you can use Chexi for a lot of things that you probably didn't realize you can. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I'm pretty sure they have the lowest fee, like as a percentage-wise, for paying your taxes.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're
still
like
really
most of the others
in that heavily competing like customer acquisition phase.
Yeah.
So it's still a really good
Yes.
deal. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say that it's like 1.75% to pay your taxes through CRA, and everybody else is above 2%.
Yeah.
So really, if you've got a big tax bill, or if you are a full-time freelancer like I am and you need to pay your quarterly estimated taxes, huge opportunity to earn a lot of points that way with Chexi in Canada. So, on from our somewhat good predictions of 2025 to our favorite redemptions of 2025. Now, it is just going to be the favorite redemptions of the folks that are on this episode today. We're not going to go through every team member's favorite redemptions, but Jeff, you had a pretty spectacular year. Why don't you kick us off with your favorite redemptions?
Yeah, so
the last 12 months.
Last January, my wife and I flew to Kenya. We went to JW Marriott Masai Mara. Danny, you've been there as well. You know how incredible it is. It's a mind-blowing experience, just the whole thing.
It is.
It's going to be hard to top that one. I'm not really sure what is ever going to top that one, but hey, maybe. And then right after that, we flew to Saudi Arabia, our first time in Saudi Arabia, and we stayed at the brand new St. Regis Red Sea, which was incredible. I've never been to the Maldives, but as best I can tell, it's very, very similar.
It looked pretty damn close based on your review. Yeah.
Yeah. So super, super cool resort. Whole brand new development there. Really exciting to see. And then for flights, I originally booked myself at Etihad first class apartments on the A380, and surprisingly, I got upgraded to the residence, which was incredible. That's the 3-bedroom suite that you have all to yourself, which includes your own bathroom, your own bedroom, and a giant
own shower.
Your own shower and a giant living room. It was a wild experience. Obviously, I'm never going to top that one. And then I redeemed for Japan Airlines first class on that same trip. It was the older 777 first class, but still awesome. Japanese food, service, everything you possibly asked for. Really, really great flights that I actually did myself, just a solo trip. And that's something I kind of learned this year, traveling solo. That's the key to unlocking some of these flights, just because there's oftentimes only one seat. So going by yourself is usually the way to secure some of these really hard to find redemptions.
Yeah, now that my wife and I are a little bit later, I would say later in the game, but, we've been traveling business and first class for 3 years now. We have no problems if one person needs to go like on a morning flight and the other person needs to go on an afternoon flight or even like the next day. It's like, yeah, if that makes our trip so much easier to plan, we sit next to each other enough that we don't need to sit next to each other constantly. And then on that note too, we tend to prefer window seats just ourselves when you got that direct aisle access and window seat. So usually we'll select the window seats, even if we are flying together on the same flight anyway. I don't know, Josh, do you have a similar experience with that?
Yeah, we kind of flip-flop. Sometimes we sit together. Sometimes we sit exactly windows one in front of another. It's funny you mentioned, Jeff, with like the first class availability, because I've got a few itineraries booked like that for next year. Finding one seat, so easy. Like, no question about it far in advance. Finding two seats, hell on earth, to say the least, with a lot of these programs. So, but yeah, kind of for me, year in review, it has been a bit of a slower travel year. I'm looking to ramp it up next year I've already got 3 or 4 big trips booked. What stands out as most notable was I was able to do Japan once again in Taiwan for the first time. And I was actually able to fly Starlux business class from Taipei to LA. I booked with Atmos Rewards. Really nice to fly on a very modern carrier, very new planes, very good catering. The lounges in Taipei, excellent. It was just a really fantastic experience, and I would absolutely go out of my way to book that and fly that again if I could make it happen. Similarly, on that trip, I was actually able to visit the Waldorf Astoria Osaka, which had just opened about a week prior. It's always interesting being at a new hotel shortly after opening, because there's always some kinks that need to be ironed out. It's never going to be a perfect experience, but for what it's worth, it was a pretty damn good stay. There was a few small things that I noted in my review. Also, excellent use of a Hilton free night certificate. So I think we stayed 4 nights and used free nights for every night. So it was a good time. What about you, Danny?
Yeah, I've got a few highlights. Starting at the beginning of the year, we'll get to the best trip ever, which is, spoiler alert, very similar to Jeff's. At the beginning of the year, I was pretty proud that I was able to only spend $90, and I put that in air quotes because you'll see why. But I had a $90 cash out of pocket for 5 nights in Whistler over spring break, which is absolutely bonkers considering most hotels go for minimum $300 a night there. And even the pod hotel, I looked it up just for fun, and it was $250 a night for a pod, like literally a hostel. So we used an 85,000 point Marriott certificate at the Westin Whistler, which is a lovely hotel. Now, realistically, you have to have an expensive Marriott card to get that, so it wasn't free, but I used the benefit and didn't have any extra cash out of pocket. I paid $290 cash for a night at the Hilton Whistler, but with my Hilton Aspire card, I got $200 back because that is one of the few places in Canada that is a Hilton resort. So the Hilton $200 semi-annual resort credit counted there. So $200 back on the statement. I then used a free night certificate at the Hilton Whistler. And then I also combined that with 80,000 Hilton points. And that one I was able to get on the same reservation, but the cash actually just did a separate one at the end of it. And then I capped it all off for my 5th night in Whistler with a 40K free night certificate at the Delta Whistler that I topped up with an extra 10,000 Marriott points. So all in all, 5 nights in Whistler for $90 technically. I was pretty proud of that one. That was fun. And it goes to show that you don't have to use your points and miles for outlandish, crazy things to get really good value out of it, right? You can have a great time and genuinely save money using your points and miles within our own amazing country. My other and biggest trip of the year was the JW Marriott Masai Mara Lodge. As Jeff said, it is just stunning. Like, this is the only thing that I want to use my Marriott points for now. Even though, now it's, I think, 800 or 900,000 points for 5 nights. There is like a Mapito Safari Lodge, an autograph collection that's about 700,000 points for 5 nights. Do whatever you have to do to get there. It is awesome. And some of the more budget safari camps that we got to see, it will still be an incredible experience while you're out in the trucks. But like the trucks that the JW Marriott Masai Mara uses are awesome, super luxurious, 4 people, max 6 people per truck. And you're like basically being carted around. It's incredible. So that was one of my favorite ones. And then we paired that up with a trip to Greece. And it was an accident because we just found award availability leaving Athens to get us back to North America. But the time zones between Africa and Greece are only 1 hour apart. So it actually worked out pretty awesome that we were on the same time zone essentially for like 2 weeks. So absolutely loved that. That was really, really good. Moving on to our favorite earning opportunities of 2025. I'll get Jeff to start again in what he thought was the best way to pad his points balance in the past 12 months.
Yeah, so a program that I've been focusing more on, and this was all came about because I wanted to fly Etihad first class, and it just so happens that American Airlines Advantage is the best way to book Etihad first class. So I've been focusing a lot on my points there recently. RBC is a transfer partner to American Airlines Advantage, and now what you might see is the 1 to 0.7 lower transfer ratio. It's still, in my opinion, worth transferring points to American Airlines Advantage. Just because American Airlines Advantage, they're a one world partner, so you get awesome availability on all those great airlines. American Airlines has free cancellations. They have really low taxes, like under $20 on a lot of their redemptions. And then you get your unique partners like Etihad. Like I said, the best way to book Etihad first class is through American Airlines Advantage. So I've been really focusing on that, and it's been great so far.
Yeah, I think that's a great angle. I slept on AA Advantage at least through RBC for a couple of years, but you bring it up so often in recent times. I'm like, damn, I gotta, I've done the city cards. I gotta keep on building the balance because it is such a genuinely good sweet spot in the space, and I think it will continue to be. As for myself, still very, very, very heavy in the US game. Still focusing business platinums, focusing business golds. There always seems to be some sort of no lifetime language Hilton card offer out there. There's some angles, you can play with the Bonvoy cards. So that's kind of where the majority of my spend and effort goes, mostly through Chexy and buying groups. So there's great rewards there, to say the least. Canada, I haven't been doing as much. Of course, RBC, similarly to Jeff, transferring a lot of that to American Airlines. There has been some good opportunities recently. The offer on the TD First Class Travel Visa Infinite card right now is actually really damn good. It's stellar for $7,500 in spend. You get a ton of points worth something like $800+ on Expedia.
Yeah.
Like, that's phenomenal as far as I'm concerned. And we haven't seen an end date on that yet, so it seems to be persisting. They must be doing good volume. So that was awesome to see. Scotiabank's always pretty competitive. You know, I definitely have added a Scotiabank Gold American Express card to my wallet for myself personally and my significant other. You know, Scene is easy to redeem. It's pretty easy to turn into cash. The multipliers are good, 6 times at, you know, Safeway, Sobeys, 5 times at other grocery stores, dining, entertainment. It's nothing to scoff at. So that's kind of where my focus has been. But, you know, if I had to give a split, I'm probably 90% US cards, 10% Canadian, where it stands currently.
Yeah, I'd agree with both of the points that you guys made. First, about American Airlines. I actually recently found a spectacular deal to fly from Vancouver. Now, it's granted a connection in Dallas, but then over to New York for 6,000 American Airlines miles per person. And it was $5.90 in taxes and fees for that. Or no, actually, it wasn't. The other way would be $5.90. I had to pay the airport improvement fee and all that unfortunate taxes that we have in Canada. So I think it was like $50 per person in taxes and fees, but an excellent value. And I only had those AA miles available because I transferred them when there was that really small window of RBC transfer bonus to American Airlines Advantage. So that was an excellent decision that I did that. And then in terms of my activities, I would second with Josh that basically not much going on in Canada. We kind of tapped out that market in terms of applying for things. A few product switches here and there, but not too busy on the Canadian side of things. But I am quite excited that Rove has entered the conversation as a new hotel booking platform. I think this is my favorite earning opportunity. Loyalty eligible bookings that you can click through and still earn miles on your booking. Absolutely huge opportunity. Similar to Chexy, they've got a lot of customer acquisition marketing budget, so take advantage while it's still a great deal. I don't see them going belly up anytime soon, so even if you are concerned about that, you wouldn't be able to get this opportunity of loyalty eligible bookings any other way. So I don't really think you have any downside to using Rove to book your full cash rates like you normally would. Another really unique opportunity that I found was the Amex Canada authorized user bonuses on the Aeroplan cards. They posted as everyday qualification points, which they probably weren't supposed to, but they did. So
it's got to be an error.
My P2 or my wife, it actually ended up with 25K status because of that. So Air Canada has been pretty generous with when they make an IT error, they generally let folks keep it. Like one of the biggest ones 2 years ago, they they physically mailed a whole bunch of 75K members a renewal packet, whether they had hit the status again or not. And they just gave them the status because they said, oh, well, we emailed you a packet. So if we made this promise, we might as well just keep it. So that was really cool that the authorized user bonus is all posted as EDQ. You never know what's going to happen in the IT space. And well, we've talked about not buying Aeroplan points in the past. I effectively purchased Aeroplan points for like 0.8 cents per point. So like under a penny per point for an Aeroplan point. So pretty darn great if you're going to look at a 60,000 point business class redemption from Europe to the East Coast. That's like paying 550 Canadian dollars for that. So I'd take that any day of the week. And one of our final sections, the biggest changes of 2026, or excuse me, the biggest changes of 2025. What do we have going on here for you, Jeff? What did you see the biggest things change over?
So this isn't really something that happened in 2025, but it was the announcement of all the changes that are going to be coming with Aeroplan in 2026. So, I mean, they've announced all the changes, but I mean, I think it's still, until we see it in action, it's just, there's still just a lot of unknowns. So that to me is kind of the biggest thing, kind of like looking forward from this year to next. So we'll see what happens, right? A lot of people think it's going to be negative across the board for most of the people, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, if you're unfamiliar with what we're talking about, we did a whole episode on Aeroplan 3.0. We'll link to that in the show notes, and you can listen to us basically talk about the Aeroplan tax code, as it is a little bit dry, but it's important information. And I think actually on YouTube, it's our most watched episode so far, with almost 1,000 views so far. Yep. So we obviously did a good job. So we'll pat ourselves on the back for that
interesting enough, clearly. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, for 2025, one of the things that stands out most in my mind, even though I haven't gotten either card yet, BMO launched the VI Porter World Elite cards, or the MasterCards. Most notably the World Elite card, because it is a phenomenal card and comes with some excellent benefits, including instant status, free checked bag, a whole plethora of stuff, plus a great welcome bonus. It's so refreshing. We haven't seen a really true new airline co-branded card in so long in Canada, let alone one that's actually really good. So it was really fantastic to see them launch these products. In talking with the BMO team over the past few months, they're very passionate about these. They want to continue to grow that portfolio. They really believe in these products. And so, I hope that we continue to see the value that they can drive in this space. Frankly, if you're anyone who flies Porter even semi-regularly, get the VI Porter World Elite MasterCard. It's great. It's no question about 100%. It. I know many people on our team have it and love it. So that was a really, really positive change to see in 2025. We always see new credit card launches in Canada, but it's very rare for something to come out and, I take a step back and say it's actually really good. It's normally just kind of okay.
Yeah, I mean, I love CIBC, but the Adapta MasterCard that they launched earlier this year was
not it, man. That's not it. Yeah, that's the best way to put it. On the flip side, I know we alluded to earlier in the podcast, we are seeing a tightening of certain lenders in Canada. It's all anecdotal, of course, but based on my apps, based on people that I've talked to, it's very hard to get a new American Express Canada card currently. It's pretty much the exact opposite of what we saw, during COVID, where credit was free, essentially. So be interesting to see where they trend in the future, but it's definitely much, much harder. Even if you have a good credit score, even if you have a good income, all of that, it's very, very hard to get approved these days. On the US side of things, we've seen it's a little bit of a concerning pattern, but not surprising. So American Express US, they've had these as high as offers, AHA, on the personal gold and the personal platinum card for quite a number of months now. It's essentially you'll visit the webpage and it says, you can earn, your offer is as high as 175,000 membership rewards points, but that doesn't mean the offer is actually 175,000 membership rewards points. Once you apply and get approved, that's when you get what your actual offer is. So you don't really know till you've already kind of bit the bullet, frankly. For a while there, I wasn't really concerned with this because it was on the personal gold, personal plat. Not a big deal in the grand scheme of things. As recent as last month, we're now seeing it on the business platinum and business gold as well. We're also seeing it on the Delta cards as of last week. So it's spreading. I'm not surprised to see it spreading, as with any changes many of these financial institutions do. They start out small with a couple products. Why this is concerning is if you are a maximizer and looking to get the biggest bonus, you might not know what your bonus is until you go through it. For example, it's very frequent, and I've had a couple friends apply to see that as high as 300,000 on the business platinum, but the offer that many actually end up getting is 200,000, which is still, hey, it's not bad. It's 200,000 points. It's not the end of the world. but it's not 300,000. So there are still ways around this. If you have someone who can refer you and can generate a higher offer, referrals don't have this as high as yet, which is really great to see and a good angle. But it's definitely moving towards being a widespread thing. And who knows if, even years down the road, we might see something like this come to Canada.
Yeah, I mean, I've already seen offers in Canada that are like, this offer is only available to you on this web page, and if you leave, that it might not be available again. Which is a very US thing. We never saw that.
Yeah, exactly.
Very US thing.
So
we never saw that before.
They definitely lead in the States, and so I think it's a good to take inventory of what they're doing down there, because it just might be coming up here, and might take a couple years, but you never know. So something to be aware of.
Yes. Yeah, and then the other thing, just on business platinums and all of these great sign-up bonuses, I recently applied and was approved for a business platinum, but I tried to use my wife's referral link, and I got a $250K offer, not as high as $250K, and I got the pop-up prison or pop-up jail. So it said you're not eligible for the bonus. And I said, I wonder if I try not to use the referral link, what would happen? Click through. Only 200,000 points, but I was approved no problem.
Interesting.
So if you get the pop-up that says you're not eligible for the bonus on a referral link or some way that you're applying for the card, try a different way of applying for it. If you're ready, if you've got the spend and you get that pop-up in the US, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't get any Amex card. It might be that you can get that card, just not that specific offer.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Really strange algorithms going on with that stuff. Now, my biggest changes of 2025, I've got some interesting stuff that I've talked about a lot before. Booking Porter with Alaska Miles. If you're a fan of the show, you know that I've burned through probably 75,000 Alaska Miles at this point, booking Porter flights. My wife and I live in New York City, and we've got lots of family in Canada. So for us, the Newark and LaGuardia corridor up to Toronto and then on to the rest of Canada is huge. We use that at least once a month for each of us, and sometimes me 4 times a month. Being that you can redeem Porter flights with Atmos Rewards, formerly Alaska Mileage Plan, I think it's the best deal for Canadians right now. And when I was in a pinch between actually having enough points available, I even transferred some of my Marriott Bonvoy balance, which I was trying to save for a safari again. So I can tell you how much I love this deal. I love that safari, and that's the only thing I want to use Bonvoy points for. And I actually transferred some of my Bonvoy balance to Atmos in a pinch, and I still got excellent value from it. So that was one of the best changes. Not a lot of people know that you can book Porter Airlines with Alaska Miles. The free cancellation that it includes is just fantastic. So I really love that change in 2025. And then I found a very interesting redemption in a forum that I haven't actually searched for myself, but I wanted to make it known because we have the unique capability in Canada of transferring American Express points to Marriott Bonvoy at a 20% increase, or 1 to 1.2 effectively. You can use Aegean Airlines, the Miles and More program. I'm probably getting that wrong, but the loyalty program of Aegean Airlines classifies Greenland as part of North America, and their award chart prices a one-way flight in economy at 12,500 miles. So without getting too much math into it, you can effectively transfer 50,000 Amex Canada points to Marriott Bonvoy, then transfer those to Aegean Airlines. That'll give you 30,000 Aegean Airlines miles, 25,000 Aegean Airlines miles, and you can then book a round-trip flight from Newark to Greenland in economy class, and it's available on most days that they fly. So if you have an inkling to go to Greenland, I would think you might even be able to tack on the Air Canada segment from Toronto to JF or Toronto to Newark, and then go from Newark to Greenland. So a really interesting sweet spot that with that new route that's come out, and Aegean not necessarily updating their award chart, could be a good sweet spot. If you book it, please let us know. I think that that's super cool. And as a maximizer, I'd love to see somebody take advantage.
Sure.
All right. Looking forward to 2026. Jeff, what kind of things do you think are going to happen in the next year?
So I predict that there will be no new co-branded credit cards in 2026. And the reason I'm making this prediction is because I'm trying to think of what we might be missing, and I can't think of anything. We now have Porter. We have WestJet cards. There's like a dozen Aeroplan cards, so we're not getting a new one of those. We have Marriott. People have been talking about Amex maybe bringing a Hilton co-branded card to Canada for a while. I don't think it's going to happen ever, honestly. So I don't think we're going to get any this year. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you agree or disagree? I don't, because that's where I'm at.
I kind of agree. I think we have a really good suite of cards now. Like even for each of the airlines, at least, there's always a higher tier card and a lower tier card, which is great. Marriott, they seem to be very ingrained with the 2-card setup. So I don't foresee anything there. I would love to see a Hilton card here. I don't know. Like I would be curious to see behind the scenes of the numbers on the Marriott cards. You know what I mean? Like they're good cards, but do average people get them? I honestly don't know. Like, is there even a demand for, I would say Marriott's more popular than Hilton in Canada. So that would leave me the question, right? Let alone like a Hyatt card. Like everybody would be like, what the hell's Hyatt? So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if that holds true, Jeff.
Yeah. And we already have kind of the outlier programs like British Airways and Cathay and Air France KLM. So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
And also I'm looking forward to new aircraft. Air Canada, they were supposed to get both of these last year. They were both delayed, and now apparently they're on track for this year. We're getting, or Air Canada is getting brand new Boeing 787-10s and Airbus A321XLRs. Both of these are going to, anytime an airline receives a new aircraft type, they usually use that as an opportunity to refresh their image, reintroduce or introduce a new cabin and business class. So apparently we're getting a brand new brand new signature class. I guess we could call it. And yeah, I'm really excited to see what they do. I've been saying for a while that their signature class has been due for a refresh. So it looks like it's going to happen in 2026. So I'm kind of curious to see what they do.
All right. Anything else that you have predictions for in 2026, Jeff?
Yes. We've been seeing programs restrict partner award space or limit it to their own programs, either by only releasing those award seats to members of their programs or members that are elite status holders of that program. So I'm kind of expecting that trend to continue. We've seen it a lot recently. Air France KLM is now giving more award space to elite status holders, and United is now doing the same thing for elite status holders and credit card holders. So I don't know. That just seems to be the way the industry is going. I wouldn't be surprised if it continued. And my last prediction. I don't think this is going to happen in 2026, so I'm calling this a long-term prediction. And that is Porter will eventually join One World. Their executives were interviewed recently where they mentioned that they were open to the idea of joining One World. It's probably not going to happen in 2026. But because we already have Air Canada, who's tied up with Star Alliance, WestJet is closely aligned with Delta and SkyTeam. One World's kind of the only alliance that makes sense for Porter, and also Porter is quite closely aligned with Alaska and American Airlines, who are both One World airlines. So that seems to be the way it's going. So look for that maybe in 2027.
So Jeff is pulling the Dynasty Fantasy Football League draft pick here. He's going to predict for the ultimate future that Porter Airlines is going to join One World. I like it.
Yeah.
I would certainly be a fan of that. I would say they almost are kind of a pseudo One World airline because moving into 2026, you are going to be able to book multiple Alaska partners on the same award ticket. So being able to use your Alaska miles if you live in Edmonton, Calgary, even Winnipeg, anything that services Porter, and being able to get to Montreal, for example, and then you can catch your Q Suites flight, or even, Q Suites flies from Toronto now. So being able to connect on the same ticket rather than having to use a positioning flight will be huge with Alaska miles. Earning Alaska miles is tough for Canadians. We've talked about that before on the show. We have lots of articles about how to earn Atmos points, not Alaska miles. It'll get tough to learn how to say, or to get used to saying that. But Josh, what do you have for predictions for 2026?
Not much. And I know we've kind of talked about it before, but there is a chance in my mind that Alaska might make changes to their partner award charts. This first half of the year was very interesting for Alaska because you could effectively accrue Alaska miles unlimitedly compared to normal with transferring. You could move membership rewards in the States to Hawaiian and then move those to Alaska. So a lot of people are sitting on very large Alaska miles or Atmos points balances. It's still too ingrained in my brain as well.
Yeah, I know.
So there's always a concern there with those changes and with the merging of loyalty programs that we might see some devaluations. There's nothing on the table yet, but it is always on our minds. I think even if it does happen, it'll still be really good opportunities with Alaska. I don't ever see a world where Alaska miles aren't valuable. But I know Danny's mentioned this. He definitely is the one who redeems the most Atmos points for Porter. They're really good deals. There's no other way around it. It's a phenomenal deal. It's probably a heavily underutilized deal, frankly, because again, you have to be wanting to fly Porter and have Alaska miles, which I think is a subset of a subset of a subset. But the cent per point you get from that, what you're really, redeeming points for a few thousand in Atmos points to save on a, $300 or $400 flight is unreal. And even better if you stack it with status from, one of their credit cards, right? There's so much value to be had there. So wouldn't be surprised to see that change, but who knows, maybe it'll fly under the radar because it is such a niche opportunity.
Yeah. No, that I would be sad to see it go, but at the same point in time, even if they increase it by a few thousand points, because it's not going to double in price overnight, it won't be like a Turkish devaluation, it's still an amazing deal. Like I booked, I texted it into our Frugal Flyer chat, a 6.8 cents per point redemption using Alaska miles. Like it's bonkers. Yep. And then actually one thing that I do want to say about an underrated way to earn Alaska miles in the next 6 months, Rakuten and Bilt, with their new partnership, you can transfer Bilt points to Alaska. And as Canadians, you might say, well, using Rakuten US, so what? Using Viator for any experiences that you have, or even some of the digital products, like LifeLock, you won't be able to use unless you have an SSN, but like NordVPN, those kind of things where you can get 100 points per dollar. You're basically buying Alaska miles at 1 cent per point, and I will buy Alaska miles at even 1.7 cents per point, like all day long, just because I'm getting so much value out of it. So look into creating yourself a Bilt account with the same email address as you have your Rakuten account. Get that linked up together. If you don't have Rakuten US, we'll put a referral link in the show notes for you. But that is a very underrated way to earn boatloads and boatloads of Alaska miles. However, the transfer ratio changes to be about half as good starting in May of 2026. So you've got these next 5-ish months to rack up a whole bunch of Rakuten points. My prediction for 2026 is that e-upgrades are going to become more useful. It's already been stated by Scott O'Leary, who is the vice president of loyalty at Aeroplan, that there are going to be fewer e-upgrades in circulation in 2026. And that's going to mean that they'll have more value, right? When there's less of something, that means that their values hopefully go up. We are going to see a higher copay, which is already part of the deal. As these e-upgrade changes have been announced, you're already going to have a higher copay than you previously did. But if it means that the Air Canada revenue team can make more instant upgrade space available, I've got a higher copay, I've got to pay some e-upgrades, Personally, I'm okay with that. I've paid some pretty high taxes and fees and surcharges on Virgin Atlantic and British Airways, and even Air France isn't cheap for some of their taxes and fees. So if I've got to pay a higher copay, but I get the perfect flight from a Canadian city that I'm going to be in anyway, and I get to cross the Atlantic in more comfort than premium economy, and I can actually use my e-upgrades, I think that's really good. I also think less e-upgrades being available are going to mean that if a low status member does choose to use their e-upgrades, they're actually going to get it, versus being low status and not being able to use them because everybody is using their e-upgrades all at the same time. So that's my prediction for 2026. And I hope that as we're recording this 12 months from now, I can look back on that and say that I used all of my e-upgrades. That would be great.
That would be something. Yeah.
Yeah, it would.
Yes. All right, and with those predictions over, that brings us to the end of this episode of Miles Ahead Year in Review. If you're curious about what the rest of the team thought about 2025 and where they think miles and points are going in 2026, you can read our Year in Review article coming out about the same time that this episode is going to be launching. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review on your favorite podcast platforms. If you have any questions you'd like us to answer on air, you can submit them at FrugalFlyer.ca/podcasts. And if you have any questions about this specific episode, leave a comment wherever you're listening or watching, and we'll get back to you. Thanks for listening. Bye, everybody.